You lie here in the quiet of the evening, your body sinking gently into stillness, and your mind opening like a soft canvas for thought. In this moment of rest, you let yourself drift not into the busyness of the day, but into the vast story of life itself, a story written in the light of the sun. Tonight, you walk slowly into the heart of that story, tracing the journey of sunlight, feeling its warmth and wonder until it meets the delicate green of a leaf. For everything you are, every breath you take, every heartbeat you carry, is bound to this endless conversation between light and life. The sun, it feels so far away, and yet it is nearer to you than you realize. 93 million miles stretch between Earth and the star that warms it, and yet each second, streams of light race across that distance, unbroken, tireless, persistent. You can imagine them now, tiny packets of energy called photons, rushing through the vacuum of space. They travel at a speed your body cannot truly comprehend. 300,000 kilometers in a single second. In the time it takes you to breathe once, light has already circled the entire planet 7 times. And yet, though it is fast, it is also patient. From the moment a photon is released at the sun's surface, it will travel for about 8 minutes and 20 seconds before it reaches Earth, before it reaches you. That means every ray of light touching your skin, every golden glow slipping between leaves at dawn, is nearly 9 minutes old, a visitor that began its journey long before you even thought to notice. The path of this light is not simple. Within the sun itself, energy begins as a union of atoms, the fusion of hydrogen into helium. Deep in the core, at pressure so immense they bend your imagination, hydrogen atoms collide and merge, releasing bursts of energy. That energy must make its way outward from the crowded, fiery core, through layers of gas and plasma, until it reaches the surface. But the journey from the sun's heart to its surface is not 8 minutes. It is hundreds of thousands of years. The energy bounces around, scattered again and again in an endless dance, before finally finding a way out. Only then does it race freely into the openness of space, bound for the blue world where you live. As the photon approaches Earth, it does not know where it will land. Some strike the oceans, shimmering across waves. Some scatter in the atmosphere, painting the sky blue. Some warm the soil, the stones, and the bodies of animals. And some fall gently on the surface of a leaf, where a green pigment waits to catch it. That is where your story truly begins, because that moment, the meeting of light and leaf, is the quiet power that sustains your breath. Pause here and notice your own breathing. Air flows into your lungs, rich with oxygen. It seeps into your blood, feeding your cells, carrying energy to every corner of your body. But where does this oxygen come from? It comes from leaves, from grasses, from the unseen green networks of plants. And what allows them to give you this gift is their ability to drink the light, to use its energy to split water, to rearrange carbon dioxide, to build sugar, and to release oxygen. Every breath you take is borrowed from that alchemy, from the gentle catching of photons on green surfaces. Think of morning. The first light rises above the horizon, the sky shifting from indigo to soft gold. A leaf trembles in the breeze. Within its cells are tiny structures called chloroplasts, like miniature solar panels, waiting for the day. When the first photon lands, it is caught by chlorophyll, the green pigment of life. That capture is like a spark meeting a circuit. It excites electrons, pushes energy forward, and begins a cascade that will end in food and air. A single beam of light, arriving after its long journey across space, finds its place in a living system, and there it begins again, transformed. The rhythm of day and night makes this process possible. Night is not an absence but a pause, a moment of restoration. Plants rest, just as you do, conserving energy, closing the pores of their leaves. And when the sun rises again, they open themselves, ready to receive. Your life, too, depends on this rhythm. Light and dark, action and rest, breath in and breath out. The cosmos itself seems to move to this pattern of expansion and stillness, of light rushing and darkness waiting. As you breathe again, you may notice something subtle. The carbon dioxide you release is not wasted. It drifts outward, and perhaps it will find its way into a nearby tree. The tree will draw it in through small openings in its leaves. There inside, it will join the molecules of water and the spark of sunlight to form sugar, fuel for the tree's growth, fuel for the web of life, fuel that one day may return to you as food. You are part of this exchange, woven into the breath of the world. Imagine now a forest at dawn. Mist hangs low between trunks. The first light filters through branches, each ray scattering, softening. Thousands of leaves tilt toward the sky, and in each one, millions of chloroplasts are stirring, ready to catch light. It is quiet, but it is not still. It is a hum too soft to hear, a work too delicate for eyes to see. But the forest is alive with energy, with transformation, with the quiet work of photosynthesis. The scale of this is astonishing. On Earth, each year, photosynthetic organisms, plants, algae, even tiny bacteria, capture about 170 billion tons of carbon and turn it into sugar. That sugar becomes wood, fruit, roots, and seeds. It becomes the food that animals eat. It becomes the oxygen you inhale this very moment. The cycle continues every day in every corner of the planet without pause. You exist because sunlight has been captured, parceled into molecules, and shared across the web of life. If you look at your hand now, you might see it differently. The energy that allows your fingers to move, the warmth of your skin, even the thoughts rising gently in your mind. All of it comes from the sun, not directly, but through the mediation of plants. Every meal you have ever eaten, whether bread or fruit or meat, is sunlight made solid, passed from leaf to life. From life to you, you are, in a real sense, sunlight, transformed and remembered by your body. This thought brings comfort, because it ties you not only to the plants around you, but also to the stars. For the sun is not unique in making light. Every star is a furnace. Every star gives off photons. You are surrounded by a universe of light, though most of it is too faint or distant to sustain you. Yet in your star, at your distance, conditions are just right. The Earth is a garden planet because of this balance, because the sun's light reaches it with neither too much force nor too little. And so, the story of light is also the story of balance. Too much light and life burns. Too little and life withers. But here, where you rest, the balance holds a fragile but enduring equilibrium that has lasted billions of years. The warmth on your skin, the glow in your room, the food you have eaten today, all of it comes from that balance. All of it is the gift of sunlight. As you sink deeper into stillness, think of light not as harsh or blazing, but as a gentle river. It flows continuously, carrying energy across space, nourishing, sustaining, soothing. When it touches a leaf, it begins a transformation so elegant and so subtle that entire civilizations depend on it without even noticing. You are part of that story, breathing it in, exhaling out, cycling endlessly in rhythm with the green world. And here's a mystery to carry with you. The leaf that captures sunlight is not simple. It is a tapestry, woven with veins, cells, and pigments. Each detail is necessary, each structure designed by the long patience of evolution. What does the inside of this living solar panel look like? How does its form allow it to capture light so gracefully? That is a journey ahead, into the hidden world of the leaf itself, the green fabric of life. You begin again with a breath, slow and steady, letting the air move softly into your chest. As you exhale, your mind turns to the delicate green world around you, a world that quietly sustains your life. The story of photosynthesis does not begin only with light, but with the leaf, the thin, fragile, and yet astonishingly powerful surface that welcomes sunlight into life. Tonight, you step into this green tapestry, exploring its design, its elegance, and its hidden complexity. A leaf looks simple from a distance. To your eyes, it may appear as a flat blade of green, sometimes small, sometimes large, attached by a slender stem to the body of a plant. Yet, when you lean closer, when you imagine stepping inward to explore its layers, you discover an architecture far richer than its appearance suggests. Each leaf is a living solar panel, designed not by human hands, but by countless ages of adaptation. It is thin, so light can pass through its surface. It is broad, so it can capture as much sunlight as possible. Its veins spread outward like rivers, carrying water and nutrients, while its surfaces breathe the air of the world. Imagine for a moment standing inside a leaf. You are no longer outside, looking at green from afar. You are within it, walking along the corridors of its tissues. The outermost layer, called the epidermis, is like a transparent window. It protects but does not block. Its cells are coated with a waxy cuticle, a thin layer that prevents too much water from evaporating into the air. If the cuticle were not there, the leaf would dry in the heat of the sun. Already, you see how balance is key. The leaf must remain open enough to drink light, but closed enough to keep its water. As you move inward, you pass through the upper epidermis and enter the mesophyll, the heart of photosynthesis. Here, cells are packed with chloroplasts, tiny green structures, each one containing the pigments and machinery to capture light. The arrangement is not random. The palisade mesophyll cells stand upright, like rows of tall columns, each one filled with chloroplasts. Their shape allows them to absorb the maximum amount of light. Beneath them lies a spongy mesophyll, looser in arrangement, full of air spaces that allow gases to move freely. Carbon dioxide seeps in, oxygen drifts out, and in between, the chemical reactions of life proceed quietly, endlessly. You pause here, in the spongy mesophyll, and imagine yourself floating in the air spaces. Around you, cells draw in carbon dioxide, breaking its strong bonds apart, combining its atoms with the energy of sunlight. The gases drift like whispers between chambers, entering through tiny pores called stomata. These stomata are more than doors. They are intelligent gateways, opening and closing in response to conditions. When the air is dry, they close to prevent water loss. When conditions are right, they open, allowing the dance of gases to flow. Each stoma is flanked by guard cells, curved structures that swell with water to open or relax to close. The leaf breathes in and out through these silent mouths, balancing its needs with the needs of the whole plant. The veins of the leaf, its vascular system, are another wonder. They are like rivers of life running across a green plain. The xylem carries water upward from the roots, a stream rising against gravity, pulled by the gentle tug of evaporation at the leaf surface. Alongside it runs a phloem, carrying sugar away from the leaf, down into the stem, into the roots, into fruits and seeds. This dual flow, water in, sugar out, makes each leaf both a receiver and a giver, both nourished and nourishing. Now, think of the diversity of leaves. The leaf of a maple, broad and lobed. The leaf of a pine, narrow and needle-like. The leaf of a fern, divided into countless tiny leaflets. Each shape reflects adaptation. In dry deserts, leaves may be reduced to spines, conserving water, while the work of photosynthesis shifts to stems. In tropical rainforests, leaves grow broad and thin, with pointed tips called drip tips that shed the heavy rains. In high mountains, leaves may be small and thick, built to endure cold winds. Everywhere, the green tapestry adjusts, weaving itself into the conditions of the world. Even the arrangement of leaves on a stem carries purpose. Some spiral around, catching light from every angle. Some grow opposite one another, balancing symmetry. Some cluster in whorls, encircling the stem like spokes on a wheel. Each pattern maximizes light capture, avoids the shadow of neighbors, and ensures that the plant as a whole thrives. What may look like random growth is in fact strategy, refined by the quiet patience of evolution. Pause again and notice how the story of the leaf reflects your own life. You, too, depend on structure, the design of your lungs, the flow of your blood, the way your body maintains balance between openness and protection. Just as the leaf must open to the air but close to constant water, you must open the world but rest to restore. Nature builds with this rhythm of exchange, and you are no exception. Now return to the leaf's green heart, the chloroplast. These organelles are the true engines of photosynthesis, each one a tiny factory of light. If you could shrink yourself down to their scale, you would find yourself wander among stacks of thylakoid membranes, folded into structures called grana. They look like coins stacked in towers, connected by bridges. On these membranes, pigments sit like solar panels, ready to capture photons. The design is breathtakingly intricate, each fold increasing surface area, each detail maximizing efficiency. The leaf at every scale is built for one purpose: to catch light and turn it into life. Consider how thin a leaf is, often just a few cells deep. And yet, within that thinness lies a complete system: a skin, a circulatory network, a respiratory system, and a power plant. Humans build great cities to achieve such complexity. Plants do it in silence, in surfaces no thicker than paper. You may recall walking through a forest or sitting beneath a tree and noticing how the leaves move with the wind. Each one seems individual, trembling or twisting, catching the sun at a slightly different angle. But together, they form a canopy, a collective solar panel spanning entire landscapes. Forests are the grandest tapestries of all, thousands upon thousands of leaves linked together, harvesting light and turning it into the foundation of life. The oxygen you breathe, the food you eat, the climate you live in, all of it flows from these green expanses, from the tapestry of leaves stretching across continents. Let your breath slow once more. With each inhale, imagine the oxygen drifting into you as a gift from countless leaves. With each exhale, imagine the carbon dioxide you release as a return gift, a token that will drift back to them. You and the leaves are not separate. You are threads in the same weaving, each dependent on the other. As you reflect on this connection, the question arises: what gives the leaf its green? Why does chlorophyll reflect this particular color? Why not red or blue or gold? What is the secret world within this pigment? The molecule that captures sunlight and begins a transformation. That mystery, held within the green itself, will open before you in the next step of your journey. You close your eyes for a moment, letting your breathing steady, and you imagine again the leaf, thin and delicate, holding within it the power to change sunlight into life. You know now that its tissues, its veins, and its spaces are all arranged to serve a single purpose: to welcome the light. But what is the welcoming itself? What catches the photon, that tiny spark of energy racing across space? The answer is hidden in the green itself, the quiet pigment that colors forests, meadows, and fields. Tonight, you step into that green, into the secret world of chlorophyll. When you walk outside on a bright day, what strikes you first is the color of life. Green stretches across the land, from the smallest sprout between stones to the tallest tree, rising toward the sky. Your eyes rest on green more than any other color. It soothes, it calms, it reassures you. But why green? Why not the golden hues of the sun or the deep blues of the sky? To understand, you must move beyond the visible and into the subtle world of light. Light is not a single thing. It is a spectrum, a range of wavelengths. Your eyes perceive some of it as colors: violet, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. Each wavelength carries energy. Short wavelengths, like violet and blue, are more energetic. Long wavelengths, like red, are gentler but still powerful. Plants must choose, in a sense, which parts of this rainbow they will capture. They cannot drink it all. Their pigment are tuned, like instruments, to certain notes in the symphony of light. Chlorophyll plays this role. It is a molecule shaped with elegance, a ring of carbon and nitrogen atoms surrounding a core of magnesium. This structure, called a porphyrin ring, is like a net for photons. When light strikes it, electrons within the ring jump to higher energy states. The molecule catches the photon's gift, and the energy is passed along into machinery of photosynthesis. Without chlorophyll, the photon would simply bounce away, wasted. With chlorophyll, the light is caught, and life can begin its transformation. Chlorophyll is not alone. In fact, there are several kinds: chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, and others found in algae and bacteria. Chlorophyll is a universal, the one molecule found in all oxygen-producing photosynthetic organisms. It absorbs red and blue light most strongly. Chlorophyll B, by contrast, extends a range, capturing additional wavelengths of light and handing the energy to chlorophyll A. Together, they create a system, a partnership, broadening the spectrum of life. But notice what they do not absorb. Green light, for the most part, is reflected, not captured. That is why you see leaves as green. Plants reflect what they do not use. It is as though the forests are painted with the color they reject, glowing to your eyes with the leftover light. This rejection is not waste. It is balance. By leaving green, plants avoid absorbing too much energy, which could damage their delicate systems. They take what they need, and they let the rest pass by. The green you see is both a limitation and a safeguard, a quiet compromise written across every leaf. Pause for a moment and think of your own life. You, too, cannot take in everything. You select, you absorb, you reflect. Some experiences nourish you, others you let go. The leaf, in its way, teaches you this lesson, to absorb enough to live and to grow, but not so much that you are overwhelmed. Green is a color of boundaries as much as it is the color of life. Now, imagine yourself shrinking again, small enough to stand inside a chloroplast. Before you rise the stacks of thylakoids, and upon them sit the photosystems, the complexes of proteins and pigments that catch light. Each photosystem holds hundreds of chlorophyll molecules, all arranged to funnel energy toward a central place, the reaction center. Here, a special pair of chlorophyll molecules wait. When light strikes them, they release high-energy electrons, beginning the chain of reactions that will lead to sugar and oxygen. It is not just chemistry, it is choreography. Photons arrive, chlorophyll absorbs, energy dances from molecule to molecule, like sparks passed hand to hand through a crowd, until it reaches the reaction center. There, the spark becomes a current, an electron moving forward, beginning the work of splitting water and building molecules. It happens in silence, billions of times every second, in every leaf on Earth. Consider the numbers. A single chloroplast may contain up to 50 chlorophyll-rich photosystems. A single mesophyll cell in a leaf may contain dozens of chloroplasts. A single leaf may hold millions of such cells. And a single tree may carry thousands of leaves. Multiply this by the forests of the world, by the grasses of the plains, by the algae in the oceans, and you glimpse the immensity of chlorophyll's work. Every breath you take rests upon this green pigment, quietly catching photons and turning them into foundations of life. And yet, chlorophyll is not alone in the pigment world. Alongside it are carotenoids, pigments of yellow and orange. These broaden the spectrum of absorption, catching wavelengths chlorophyll misses, and they also protect the leaf from excess light. In autumn, when chlorophyll breaks down, carotenoids remain, painting leaves with the warm colors of the season. There are also anthocyanins, pigments of red and purple, which sometimes appear in young leaves or stress plants, shielding them from light and attracting pollinators. The leaf is not just green. It is a palette, a canvas painted with pigments, each serving a role, each adding resilience. Think of autumn now, the slow fading of green into red, orange, and gold. You might feel sadness at the loss, but in truth, you are witnessing pigments that were there all along, hidden beneath chlorophyll's dominance. The leaf is layered, holding secrets until the right moment. Chlorophyll is a star, but it is never alone. Reflect again on the green that surrounds you. It is the most common color of life, and yet it is rare in the world beyond. Few minerals, few animals are truly green. Green belongs to plants, to the work of chlorophyll. When you see it, you are reminded of the thin line between sunlight and life. Green is a signature of survival, the color of the bridge between star and soil. You may also notice that chlorophyll's presence connects you not only to plants, but to history. Billions of years ago, when the first cyanobacteria evolved chlorophyll-based photosynthesis, they changed the Earth forever. Oxygen began to fill the atmosphere. The skies shifted. Life diversified. The pigment in a blade of grass before you is the same pigment that turned the Earth from barren to living. Every green patch is an echo of that ancient transformation. Now, as you breathe again, you may feel the intimacy of this connection. The oxygen in your lungs began as a photon striking chlorophyll. The food in your body began as carbon fixed by the energy chlorophyll captured. Even the warmth in your skin is part of this flow. Chlorophyll is a hidden hand that sustains you, even though you cannot see it directly. Rest for a moment with this thought, that every green leaf is an open window to the sun, and chlorophyll is the glass, transparent to some wavelengths, receptive to others. It filters and channels energy into life. Without it, the Earth would be a desert of rock and water, barren and still. With it, the Earth blooms, rich with forests, fields, and oceans alive. And yet, the story of chlorophyll is not complete without water. Light alone cannot make sugar. It needs a partner. Water provides the electrons, the hydrogen, the substance that will be woven into sugar and releases oxygen. Without water, chlorophyll's captured energy has nowhere to go. The next chapter of your journey flows with water, rising from the soil, traveling through roots and stems until it meets the leaf. Light and green wait for it, ready to turn the union into life. You breathe in slowly, and you let yourself imagine a single drop of water, clear, weightless, ordinary in appearance, and yet it is the lifeblood of the green world. Without water, there is no photosynthesis, no leaf, no breath. Tonight, you follow the path of that droplet, from the soil beneath your feet to the highest tip of a tree, into the heart of a leaf, where it meets sunlight and begins the alchemy of life. The story begins underground. Roots extend into the earth like fingers, probing, searching, weaving between grains of soil and tiny cracks in stone. At their tips are root hairs, so fine you could barely see them, but in their vast number they form a great absorbing surface. Here, water waits. It clings to particles of soil, thin film surrounding each grain, droplets hidden in the dark. The root hairs draw it in through osmosis, a process both simple and profound. Osmosis is the quiet balance of concentration. Where water is more abundant outside the root, it flows inward. No pumps, no noise, no urgency, just a steady drift of molecules from where there are many to where there are few. The cell walls of the roots allow this passage, and soon the droplet joins countless others, entering the inner tissues of plant. From here, the journey continues upward. The water moves into the xylem, the plant's inner pipeline. The xylem is built of hollow cells, stacked end to end, forming long tubes. Once living, now strengthened by lignin, these vessels are like straws that reach from the root deep in the soil to the leaves high above. Through them, water climbs against gravity, rising silently, invisibly, day after day. How does it move upward when gravity pulls it down? The secret is cohesion and tension. Water molecules are drawn to one another through hydrogen bonds, tiny attractions that link them in chains. When a molecule of water evaporates from the surface of a leaf, a process called transpiration, it tugs on the chain behind it, pulling the next molecule upward. That molecule pulls another and another until the tug reaches down into the roots. This is a cohesion tension theory, the silent pulling of water through the plant, powered not by pumps but by evaporation at the leaf surface. Think of it as a great invisible rope. At the top, molecules leave into the air, pulling the rope upward. At the bottom, water enters from the soil to replace what is lost. The entire plant becomes a conduit, a highway of molecules moving in one continuous stream. No sound, no engine, only the quiet power of physics, lifting water higher than the tallest skyscrapers, feeding the crowns of trees. Pause now, and imagine yourself as a droplet making this climb. You begin in darkness, in cool soil. You pass through the root hairs, through the cortex, into the steel where the xylem waits. You enter a vessel and join the column of water already stretching upward. Slowly, you rise. The pressure behind you pushes gently. The pull above you tugs persistently. You move upward, cell by cell, vessel by vessel. Around you are the walls of lignin, strong enough to resist collapse. The climb is long, but you do not stop. Hours may pass, days even, before you reach the leaves. Along the way, you may pass branches, where some of your companions flow into smaller vessels, feeding new shoots and young leaves. You may even contribute to swelling buds, or be stored in the tissues of stems. But your path is upward still, toward the canopy, toward the place where sunlight waits. Now you arrive in the leaf. You enter the fine veins that spread like rivers across its surface. From here, you seep into the mesophyll cells, where chloroplasts lie in wait. Here, your journey divides. Some of your molecules will be split apart by the power of sunlight. Your hydrogens will be carried away to help build sugars. Your oxygens released into the air as a gift to the world. Some of you will remain as water, filling cells with turgor pressure, keeping the leaf stiff and open to the light. Some of you will evaporate into the air, escaping through stomata, cooling the leaf, driving the next upward pull of the column behind you. In every case, your presence matters. Without you, the chloroplast could not split light into energy. Without you, the leaf would collapse, wilting in the sun. Without you, the pull of transpiration would stop, and the plant's circulation would cease. You are as essential to the leaf as light itself. Now expand your view. A single tree may transpire hundreds of liters of water in a single day. A forest may send vast rivers of vapor into the sky, feeding clouds, driving rain. The water cycle of Earth, the endless movement of water from ocean to air to land and back, is tied to the breathing of leaves. The clouds that form above rainforests are born from the combined exhalation of millions of trees, from the steady release of droplets that once rose from the soil. When you see rain fall, you are seeing water returning, completing the circle. Notice the elegance of this system. Water sustains the leaf sustains the forest sustains the sky, and the sky returns water as rain, feeding the soil again. This is no isolated journey. It is a cycle, a rhythm, as steady as your breath. Inhale, exhale. Soil, root, leaf, sky. Each step flows into the next, each part dependent on the others. Now, reflect on your own body. Water makes up most of you. More than half your weight is liquid, coursing through veins, filling cells, carrying nutrients. Like the plant, you have circulation. Like the plant, you rely on cohesion, on balance, on flow. When you drink a glass of water, you join this cycle. The same molecules you swallow may one day evaporate from your skin, or exhale from your breath, or flow back into rivers. You, too, are part of the great stream of water on Earth. Return again to the leaf. Within its cells, the water you carried has reached a moment of transformation. In the thylakoid membranes, chlorophyll waits. Sunlight strikes, electrons leap, and water is split. Oxygen bubbles outward. Hydrogen is carried inward. Energy is stored in molecules that will later build sugar. This is a union of light and water, the alchemy that lies at the heart of photosynthesis. Without light, water remains still. Without water, light has no outlet. Together, they form the beginning of a reaction that feeds a world. As you rest, you may notice how gentle this process is. There is no noise, no violence, no waste. A photon strikes, a molecule splits, electrons flow, oxygen drifts outward. It happens quietly, invisibly, in every leaf around you. It happens in the grass underfoot, in the trees above, in the algae drifting in the sea. The earth is alive with this quiet work, unceasing, unseen. Think of a river now, winding its way across land, carrying water from mountain to sea. The xylem is such a river, but it flows upward. Think of your breath, moving air in and out, sustaining your cells. The leaf does the same, exchanging gases through its stomata. Everywhere you look, the patterns repeat. Cycles, flows, balances. The plant mirrors the body mirrors the earth. You are never separate from these patterns. The journey of water, from root to leaf, is not only about transport, it is about connection. It ties soil to sky, plant to air, forest to climate. It ties your breath to the rain, your body to the ocean. Each droplet is a messenger, carrying life across boundaries, moving silently but surely. You lie in stillness, breathing gently, and you imagine once more the leaf, thin green, filled with veins, with chloroplasts, with the secret work of life. You have followed the sunlight across space. You have watched it touch the leaf, caught by chlorophyll. You have followed water upward, from root to stem to canopy. Now, in this moment, the two meet. Sunlight strikes, water flows, and within the thylakoid membranes of the chloroplast, the alchemy begins. This alchemy is known as the light reactions. It is the first stage of photosynthesis, the stage where photons are transformed into chemical energy, stored in molecules that the plant will later use to build sugar. It is here that water is split, oxygen released, and energy captured in forms that can be carried and used. To walk through this process is to walk through one of the most elegant dances in all of biology, a choreography of light, pigment, electron, and enzyme. Picture yourself now, small enough to stand upon the surface of thylakoid. Around you rise stacks of membranes, folded and pressed, increasing surface area. Upon these surfaces are the photosystems, large protein complexes that hold hundreds of chlorophyll molecules. They're like fields of solar panels, each one waiting for light. The air is silent, but within these complexes, activity is constant. A photon arrives. It strikes a chlorophyll molecule. An electron within that molecule leaps to a higher energy state, energized, restless. But the chlorophyll does not keep it. The energy is passed from one chlorophyll to another, moving like a spark through a line of dancers. Finally, it reaches a reaction center, where a special pair of chlorophyll molecules sits. These molecules do something extraordinary. They release an electron, sending it into an electron transport chain. That electron is the beginning of energy flow, a current set loose within the leaf. This first photosystem is called Photosystem 2. It is the gateway, the place where light first drives electrons outward. But losing electrons leaves it incomplete. To replace them, water molecules are split. This splitting, photolysis, is one of the most remarkable acts in nature. Enzymes within the photosystem take water, H2O, and divide it. The hydrogens are kept, their electrons given to chlorophyll. The oxygen atoms join together, forming O2 and drift away into the air. Every breath you take is possible because of this moment. The splitting of water, the quiet release of oxygen from leaves into the sky. Pause here. Imagine yourself inside this process. Water arrives at the photosystem. A photon strikes. Electrons leap. Oxygen forms. The air around you fills with a steady drift of O2 molecules, each one destined to be inhaled by an animal, perhaps even by you. You are breathing the byproduct of this reaction, the gentle waste of life's most important machine. Now, follow the electron as it leaves photosystem 2. It enters a series of proteins embedded in the thylakoid membrane, the electron transport chain. With each step, it releases a little energy, like a traveler spending coins along the way. This energy is not wasted. It is used to pump protons, hydrogen ions, across the membrane from the stroma into the thylakoid space. Slowly, a gradient builds, with more protons on one side than the other. It is like water behind a dam, pressure rising, potential energy stored. At the end of the chain, the electron arrives at photosystem I, another complex of proteins and pigments. Here, another photon strikes, and the electron is lifted again to a higher energy state. This energized electron is then passed along another chain, eventually joining with NADP and hydrogen to form NADPH, a molecule that carries energy and reducing power. Meanwhile, the proton gradient created earlier drives another machine, ADP synthase. This protein is a marvel, a rotary engine at the nanoscale. Protons flow through it, spinning its parts like a turbine. With each turn, it binds ADP and inorganic phosphate together, forming ADP, the universal currency of energy in cells. You carry ADP in every cell of your body, using it for muscle movement, for thought, for repair. In the leaf, ADP is produced here in the light reactions, turning sunlight into packets of energy the plant can use. Step back and look at the whole system. Light strikes photosystem 2. Water is split. Electrons flow down a chain, pumping protons. Light strikes photosystem I. Electrons are energized again, past NADPH. Protons flow through ADP synthase, making ADP. Oxygen drifts into the air. The product are ADP and NADPH, energy-rich molecules that will feed the next stage, the Calvin cycle, where carbon dioxide is fixed into sugar. The light reactions are not an end. They are a preparation, a storing of sunlight into chemical form. Let your breath slow, and consider the beauty of this arrangement. Two photosystems, working in sequence, connected by electron flow. A chain of proteins, using tiny amount of energy at each step to pump ions. A turbine, spinning endlessly, creating molecules of ADP. A partnership between light and water, releasing oxygen into the sky. This is the alchemy of the light reactions, not the turning of lead into gold, but the turning of photons into life. Imagine the scale. In 1 second, in one leaf, millions of photons strike chlorophyll. Millions of electrons leap. Millions of water molecules split. Oxygen flows outward in endless streams. Multiply this by every leaf in a tree, every tree in a forest, every blade of grass in a meadow, every plankton in the sea. The earth hums with this process, everywhere, all the time, silent but unstoppable. Now, notice again your own body. The air in your lungs right now, the oxygen carried by your blood, the energy in your muscles, all of it traces back to this process. ADP fuels your cells just as it fuels the plants. Your mitochondria, the powerhouses of your body, are descendants of ancient bacteria that once performed photosynthesis themselves. The chemistry that sustains you is not separate from the chemistry of the leaf. It is one long thread, woven through time, connecting you to the first organisms that caught light and split water. Rest in this thought. You are not just observing photosynthesis. You are participating in it. Your breath, your food, your energy are all part of the same flow. The light reactions do not end in the leaf. They continue in you, transformed, passed along, carried to the web of life. And yet, the story is only half told. ADP and NADPH are not ends in themselves. They are messengers carrying energy forward. Ahead lies the Calvin cycle, where carbon dioxide is drawn from the air and woven into sugar. The light reactions provide the energy. The Calvin cycle provides the structure. Together, they complete the circle, turning sunlight into substance, energy into matter, light into life. You rest deeper now, your breath slowing, your body loosening into calm. You follow the photons, seen electrons leap, watched water split, and felt oxygen drift into the sky. You stood inside the membranes of thylakoid, where the alchemy of light reactions poured energy into ADP and NADPH, the small carriers of power. But the story is not complete, for energy without form cannot nourish. Life needs more than light. It needs matter, substance, something it can build from. And so, the leaf turns to the air, to the invisible carbon dioxide around you, and it begins the quiet work of weaving it into sugar. This is a Calvin cycle, the slow, steady spin of chemistry that builds the foundation of life. Imagine stepping into the stroma, the liquid interior of the chloroplast that surrounds the thylakoids. Here there are no flashing photons, no rushing electrons, no spinning turbines. Here the work is slower, quieter, like the soft rhythm of a wheel turning steadily in the dark. The Calvin cycle does not require light directly. Instead, it uses a product of the light reactions, ADP and NADPH, to drive the process forward. Energy has been gathered, and now it is spent carefully, molecule by molecule, to turn carbon dioxide into sugar. Pause and breathe. With each exhale, you release carbon dioxide, invisible, odorless, drifting into the air. A leaf nearby may draw that molecule inward, pulling it through a stoma into the spongy mesophyll. From there, it diffuses into the chloroplast. This very molecule, once part of your breath, can become part of a sugar, part of the seed, part of a tree. You are connected directly, through air itself, to the cycle that builds life. The first step is carbon fixation. An enzyme called RuBiCO, short for ribulose 1,5-bisphosphate carboxylase/oxygenase, takes carbon dioxide and attaches it to a 5-carbon sugar called RuBP. This reaction is ancient, one of the oldest in biology, and RuBiCO is one of the most abundant proteins on Earth. Billions of tons of carbon pass through its hands every year. It works slowly, imperfectly, but persistently, fixing carbon from the air into molecules a plant can use. The result of this reaction is an unstable 6-carbon compound, which quickly splits into 2 molecules of 3-carbon acid called 3-PGA. From here, ADP and NADPH enter. The ADP provides energy, the NADPH provides electrons, and together they reduce 3-PGA into G3P, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, a small 3-carbon sugar. This is the heart of the cycle, turning air and energy into sugar. Some of the G3P leaves the cycle, becoming the building blocks for glucose, starch, cellulose, and all the carbohydrates that sustain life. Some remain in the cycle, rearrange and rebuild into RuBP, ready to capture more carbon dioxide. Round and round it goes, a cycle spinning endlessly, slowly filling the world with sugar. Pause again and feel the rhythm of this. Light reactions are bursts of energy, sparks and leaps. The Calvin cycle is slower, steadier, like the turning of a wheel or the rhythm of a heartbeat. One makes energy, the other builds matter. Together, they form a balance, a harmony, a partnership. Now, imagine what sugar means. Glucose, the 6-carbon sugar, is small, but it is powerful. Plants string glucose molecules together into starch, storing energy for later. They weave it into cellulose, building strong walls to their cells, creating wood, fiber, and structure. They send it into fruits, seeds, and tubers, gifts for animals and future generations. When you eat bread, rice, potatoes, apples, or corn, you're eating the product of the Calvin cycle, sunlight transformed into sweetness and strength. Glucose does not stop with plants. Animals eat it, and within their bodies, mitochondria break it down, step by step, releasing the energy stored in its bonds. That energy becomes movement, thought, warmth. Every step you take, every word you speak, every dream you dream, all are powered by glucose, built in the quiet cycle of the leaf. Step back and consider scale. Each year, photosynthetic organisms fix about 100 billion tons of carbon into organic matter. Forests, grasslands, crops, and oceans are all spinning this cycle, drawing invisible gas into tangible substance. The wood of a tree trunk, the grain of wheat, the flesh of a peach, all begin here, with rubicio, ADP and ADPH, and carbon dioxide. The entire biosphere is built from these reactions, repeating endlessly, quietly, without pause. Notice, too, the fragility. The Calvin cycle depends on balance. If there's too much oxygen, rubicio may bind it instead of carbon dioxide, a wasteful process called photorespiration. If there's not enough carbon dioxide, the cycle slows. If there is no ADP or NADPH, it stops. The cycle exists in a delicate web, sustained only by the right conditions of light, water, and air. You live because this balance holds. Reflect again on your own body. Just as a leaf spins carbon into sugar, your body spins food into energy. In your cells, cycles turn as well. The Krebs cycle, glycolysis, oxidative phosphorylation. Everywhere in life, energy and matter move in circles, in patterns of repetition. The leaf cycle mirrors your own. The planet cycles mirror both. Nothing is wasted, nothing is still. Let yourself rest in this idea that you are made of carbon once drifting in the air, fixed by rubicio, built into sugar, eaten by another life, transformed into you. You are, in a very real sense, the breath of the earth made solid. Your bones, your muscles, your thoughts, all are borrowed from the quiet spin of the Calvin cycle. The Calvin cycle is sometimes called the dark reactions, not because it happens only at night, but because it does not require light directly. Yet it is not darkness. It is continuation. Light provides energy. The cycle uses it. One cannot exist without the other. This, too, reflects your own life. Moment of action balanced by moments of integration, bursts of energy followed by steady building. Now, think of the gift the cycle gives. Sugar is not just food. It is a form of memory, a way of storing sunlight. When a seed rests in the soil, it carries starch made by a parent plant. That starch is sunlight captured long ago, waiting to awaken new life. When you bite into fruit, you taste the sweetness of sun, held within sugar molecules, passed across seasons and years. The Calvin cycle writes this memory into matter, recording light as flavor, as nourishment, as growth. The story of the Calvin cycle is not only about chemistry, it is about generosity. Plants do not keep sugar for themselves. They release it into the world, offering it to animals, fungi, and bacteria. They share it with ecosystems, fueling webs of life. The sugar in your blood began in a leaf, but it was given freely. In this, the leaf teaches you again. Life is sustained by giving, by cycles exchanged, by sharing what is built. As you breathe slowly, consider how much of your life depends on this generosity. Every meal, every harvest, every taste is sunlight gifted through sugar. Without the Calvin cycle, there would be no bread, no fruit, no forest, no field. The cycle turns and life continues. And yet, as steady as it seems, the cycle is tied to oxygen, the other gift of photosynthesis. For while carbon is woven into sugar, oxygen is released into the air. Sugar feeds your body, oxygen fuels your cells. Together they sustain you. Settle into stillness, your breathing calm, your body heavy and relaxed. In and out, your chest rises and falls. And though you may not notice, Every breath you take is part of a story that stretches back billions of years. This story is not only yours, it is the story of the air, the story of leaves, the story of oxygen, the invisible gift that links you to every living thing around you. Tonight, you drift into that gift, into the quiet miracle of breath. The oxygen in your lungs began its journey in a leaf. In Chapter 6, you followed carbon dioxide into the Calvin cycle, where it was woven into sugar. But as carbon was drawn inward, something else was sent outward. During the light reactions, water was split apart. Its hydrogens fed the making of sugar, but its oxygens paired and drifted away as O2. This is the oxygen you breathe, the gas that fills the atmosphere, the substance without which animals could not survive. Pause here and imagine yourself at the surface of a leaf. A photon strikes, a water molecule is split, oxygen molecules form, and they slip through the stomata out into the air. They mix with the currents of wind. They rise and fall with the turbulence of the atmosphere. Days or weeks later, one of those molecules enters your nose, flows down your throat, expands your lungs, and diffuses into your blood. You inhale a gift that began as light and water, shaped by green. Inside your lungs, oxygen crosses into your blood through tiny sacs called alveoli. Each alveolus is wrapped in capillaries, thin vessels that allow gases to pass. Oxygen slips into red blood cells, where it binds to hemoglobin, the iron-rich protein that gives blood its color. Carried by hemoglobin, oxygen flows through arteries into tissues, into cells, into the mitochondria, the powerhouses of your body. There it meets sugar, and together they burn, not in fire, but in controlled reactions, releasing energy for your muscles, your mind, your life. The breath you take now feeds every part of you, down to the smallest cell. This union, oxygen and sugar, is the other half of photosynthesis. Plants build sugar, release oxygen. Animals take sugar, use oxygen. The two are linked in a cycle, a rhythm that balances the world. You breathe in what leaves breathe out. You breathe out what leaves breathe in. Each exhale of carbon dioxide returns to the cycle, to be fixed again into sugar, to release oxygen again. Breath is not just personal. It is planetary. Consider the atmosphere itself. Billions of years ago, the Earth's air was not rich in oxygen. It was mostly nitrogen, carbon dioxide, and methane. Life existed, but it was microbial, limited, fragile. Then came photosynthesis, the invention of splitting water, the release of oxygen. Slowly, over millions of years, the air filled. Oceans rusted as iron reacted with oxygen. Rocks changed, skies shifted. Eventually, oxygen reached levels high enough to support complex life. Without photosynthesis, there will be no animals, no forests, no you. As you rest here, breathing slowly, you are surrounded by this invisible ocean of air. 21% of it is oxygen, sustained by the balance of photosynthesis. Without leaves, oxygen would dwindle in just a few thousand years. Without plankton in the sea, it would dwindle even faster. Every breath you take is renewed daily by the combined work of forests and oceans, by the quiet turning of photosynthetic life. Pause and breathe again. Feel the exchange. Each inhale brings in molecules that may have been released from a rainforest tree, from a blade of grass, from a drifting algal cell in the Pacific. Each exhale carries carbon dioxide, which may be taken by a vine, a flower, or a crop in a distant field. You are not separate. You are stitched into the breath of the planet. Now, imagine following a single oxygen molecule on its journey. It leaves a leaf, drifts into the air, swirls with the wind, and eventually is drawn into your lungs. It binds to hemoglobin, flows through your arteries, enters a muscle cell. There, in a mitochondrion, it meets glucose. Enzymes guide the reaction. Bonds break, electrons flow, and ADP, the currency of energy, is formed. The oxygen is reduced to water, which leaves your body as vapor when you exhale. That molecule of oxygen, once part of a leaf's waste, becomes part of your strength, your thought, your life. Reflect on this intimacy. Every cell in your body relies on oxygen. Deprive yourself of it for just minutes, and life falters. Yet you rarely think of it, rarely notice its presence. Oxygen is constant, abundant, invisible. Its generosity is so complete that you forget it is a gift at all. But tonight, you pause, you notice, you honor it. And oxygen does not sustain only you. It sustains every animal that walks, flies, or swims. It fuels insects beating their wings, fish drawing from water through gills, birds flying across continents, whales diving deep and rising again. Every creature breathes in one form or another, and in every case, the oxygen comes from photosynthesis. The entire animal kingdom is tied to the leaf, dependent on its generosity. Consider also fire. Fire is a kind of respiration, oxygen consuming carbon compounds in a rush rather than a slow burn. Fire was not possible before oxygen filled the air. The discovery of fire by humans, the warmth, the cooking, the stories told around flames, all of it rests on the presence of oxygen in the atmosphere. Even civilization itself is built on the breath of leaves. Pause again, you're breathing steady. Each inhale, each exhale is a reminder of this connection. Inhale, and you draw on the memory of light. Exhale, and you release the material for new sugar. Breath is not yours alone. It is a conversation between you and the green world, an endless cycle with no beginning and no end. Now, lift your imagination higher. Beyond the forest, beyond the grasslands, beyond the crops, oxygen is also made in the oceans. Tiny phytoplankton drift in the currents, each cell carrying chlorophyll, each catching photons, each splitting water. Half of the oxygen you breathe may come not from trees, but from these microscopic plants of the sea. The ocean is as much a lung of the planet as the forest is. When you stand at the shore and breathe in the salty air, you are breathing the gift of plankton, invisible but essential. Think of how fragile this balance is. Forests can be cut, oceans can be polluted, climate can change. Oxygen is abundant now, but only because the photosynthetic world continues its work. To lose that green breath is to lose your own. You are bound to its well-being, dependent on its cycles. Rest again in gratitude. The air around you is not empty. It is filled with the product of countless leaves, countless algae, countless moments of light meeting water. Oxygen fills your lungs, flows through your body, sustains your mind. Every thought you have tonight is written in oxygen, carried on the breath of leaves. But the story does not end here. Oxygen may connect you to the leaf, but the green world extends far beyond forests and fields. Oceans, too, are alive with photosynthesis. Plankton and algae spin the same cycles, unseen beneath the waves, shaping the air, shaping the climate, shaping life itself. To understand the full scope of photosynthesis, you must leave the forest and drift into the sea. You rest quietly now, your breathing steady, your body settled. Until now, you have wandered among leaves and forests, following sunlight into green canopies, tracing water as it climbs, honoring oxygen as it drifts into your lungs. The forest has been your guide, but the forest is not alone. If you wish to understand photosynthesis fully, you must leave the land and journey outward, across rivers, beyond shores, into the oceans. For half of the oxygen you breathe, half of the sugar that sustains ecosystems, half of the planet's photosynthesis, comes not from trees or grasses, but from the unseen life of the sea. Close your eyes and imagine standing at the edge of the ocean. The horizon stretches endlessly. Waves rise and fall. The air tastes of salt. You may think the ocean is empty of green, but it is not. Beneath the surface drift countless organisms, invisible to your eye but abundant beyond measure. These are the phytoplankton, tiny single-cell plants and algae, each one carrying chlorophyll, each one catching photons just like the leaves of a forest. Phytoplankton are the forests of the sea. They do not rise as trunks or spread as canopies. They float weightless, moved by currents, drifting with tides. Yet they sustain life on Earth as much as forests do. Each day, they capture sunlight, fix carbon dioxide, and release oxygen. Each day, they feed the food webs of the oceans, which in turn feed the land. Without them, seas would be barren, skies would thin, and you would have no breath to draw. Pause here and imagine shrinking again, becoming small enough to see a single phytoplankton cell. It glows faintly green, its chloroplast rich with pigments. Some are shaped like spheres, some like chains, Some like elaborate glass sculptures, diatoms with silica shells that sparkle like tiny lanterns. Others spin gently with whip-like tails, dinoflagellates moving gracefully through the water. Each one is different, but all share the same task: to turn sunlight into sugar, carbon into matter, energy into life. The scale of their work is staggering. Covering less than 1% of the planet's biomass, phytoplankton produce nearly half of the oxygen in the atmosphere. Half of every breath you take may come from these drifting cells. When you breathe at the ocean's edge, you breathe their gift directly. When you breathe far inland, beneath a mountain or within a city, you still breathe what they have given, carried on winds across the world. And phytoplankton do more than make oxygen. They are the foundation of the ocean's food chains. Tiny animals called zooplankton feed on them. Fish feed on zooplankton. Larger fish feed on those fish. Birds, whales, seals, all depend on the cascade that begins with phytoplankton. Even the great blue whale, the largest animal ever to live, ultimately depends on these microscopic plants, eating krill that feed on phytoplankton. The largest and the smallest are bound together by light caught in green. Now, expand your vision to seagrasses and algae. Along coastlines, meadows of seagrass sway gently in the currents. Like terrestrial plants, they have roots, leaves, and flowers, but they live submerged, anchoring themselves in sandy seabeds. Their leaves stretch upward, photosynthesizing beneath the waves, sheltering fish, turtles, and manatees. They form nurseries for countless species, stabilizing shores, protecting against erosion. In shallow waters, algae grow in sheets and strands, carpeting rocks, painting the ocean with green and red. These two photosynthesize, catching sunlight, building sugar, sustaining life. In coral reefs, algae live in intimate partnership with animals. Tiny zooxanthellae, symbiotic algae, live inside coral polyps. They catch sunlight and provide sugar, while the coral provides shelter and nutrients. Together they build reefs, massive structures visible from space, home to a quarter of all marine species. Without photosynthesis, there would be no reefs, no dazzling diversity of fish, no underwater gardens of color. Pause and breathe again. Half of your oxygen comes from the ocean. Half of your food, directly or indirectly, may come from it too. You are bound to the sea even if you live far from it. The green of the ocean, invisible though it may seem, sustains you as surely as the green of the forest. Consider, too, the role of the ocean in climate. Phytoplankton absorb carbon dioxide from the air. Some of this carbon sinks when they die, falling to the ocean floor, stored in sediments for millennia. This biological pump regulates the Earth's atmosphere, keeping carbon balanced, moderating climate. Without it, carbon dioxide would overwhelm the skies, and the planet would heat far beyond life's tolerance. The sea breathes for you, taking in your exhalations, storing them away in silence. Reflect on the unity of forest and ocean. They are two lungs of one planet, each exhaling oxygen, each inhaling carbon dioxide. Forests give you air. Oceans give you air. Forests feed animals. Oceans feed animals. Forests shape climate. Oceans shape climate. They are not separate. They are partners, balancing one another, sustaining the biosphere. When you walk in the woods, you walk in their breath. When you sail the sea, you sail in their breath. Your own body is carried equally by both. Now, imagine following a current deep into the sea. Light fades, but in the upper layers, the euphotic zone, sunlight still penetrates. Here, phytoplankton thrive, their chlorophyll catching photons that pass through the water. Deeper still, light dwindles and photosynthesis ceases. Yet the work of the upper layers feeds all below. Dead cells drift downward, forming marine snow. Tiny flakes of organic matter that sustain life in the depths. Even in darkness, life depends on photosynthesis above, on light caught at the surface. Think of this rhythm. Light above, darkness below, life connected between them. It mirrors your own rhythm of waking and sleeping, of light and rest. The earth itself breathes in these patterns, cycles of energy flowing from light into matter, from surface into depth. Pause here and let the vastness of the ocean settle into you. Billions of cells invisible, drifting, each one catching light, each one turning it into sugar and oxygen. Together they shape the atmosphere, the climate, the food webs of Earth. They are small, yet their combined work is planetary. You are sustained by their unseen labor every moment of your life. And so, as you breathe tonight, you breathe with them. You breathe with forests. You breathe with oceans. You breathe with algae, with seagrasses, with coral symbionts. Breath is shared, given, received. You are not alone. Yet, to truly understand photosynthesis, you must look not only at where it is now, but where it has been. For the ocean's phytoplankton are descendants of ancient lineages. The chlorophyll in their cells is the same pigment that appeared billions of years ago in cyanobacteria. The oxygen they release is part of the story that began in the deep past, when the Earth was different, when the skies were barren of oxygen, when the great oxidation event transformed the planet. To see the full picture, you must drift backward in time, into ancient sunlight, into the long history of photosynthesis through deep time. You rest deeper now, breathing calmly, your body heavy and warm. Until now, you have traveled through forests and oceans, seen light strike leaves, watched it drift into plankton, felt it become sugar and oxygen. But the story of photosynthesis is not only present, it is ancient. Tonight, you drift backward through time itself to see how sunlight first became life. This is not just your story, but the story of the planet, a story written in deep time, in ancient oceans, in the first breath of oxygen. Billions of years ago, Earth was a very different place. Imagine it. The skies heavy with carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrogen. There was no oxygen to breathe. The seas were greenish, rich with dissolved iron, and the land was barren, without trees, grasses, or flowers. Life existed, but it was simple. Single-celled organisms, microbes clinging to rocks, drifting in the seas, surviving on chemical energy drawn from minerals and vents. The air would have suffocated you. The sun shone as it does now, but no leaf, no forest, no blade of grass caught its light. And then, slowly, something extraordinary appeared. Photosynthesis. The earliest form may have been simpler than today. Some bacteria could use sunlight to extract energy without producing oxygen. They use hydrogen sulfide, iron, or other molecules instead of water. But among them, a special group, the cyanobacteria, discovered a new trick. They learned to split water molecules using sunlight, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. This innovation, quiet and microscopic, changed the course of Earth's history. Imagine a shallow sea, warmed by the sun. Within it, tiny cyanobacteria drift. Each cell contains pigments, precursors of chlorophyll, capturing photons, splitting water, releasing oxygen. You would not notice them with your eyes. They are invisible, too small to see, yet their numbers are vast. They spread across oceans, forming mats, layering upon each other, creating stromatolites, fossil structures that still exist today in parts of the world. These layered rocks, built by microbes, are monuments to the oldest photosynthesizers, silent evidence of their work across billions of years. At first, oxygen was not free in the air. It met the dissolved iron in the oceans, rusting it, turning waters red, settling as iron oxide in sediments. These ancient iron formations, mined today for steel, are relics of that time when oxygen first entered the seas. For millions of years, oxygen was bound this way, hidden in rock. But cyanobacteria continued their work tirelessly, endlessly, releasing more and more oxygen. Eventually, the balance tipped. The seas could hold no more. Oxygen began to accumulate in the air. This event, known as the Great Oxidation Event, occurred about 2.4 billion years ago. It was one of the most profound shifts in Earth's history. The skies changed. The chemistry of the planet shifted. Many anaerobic organisms, unable to survive oxygen, perished, but others adapted. Oxygen, once poison, became power, enabling new forms of metabolism, new possibilities for life. Pause here and reflect. Every breath you take tonight, every inhalation of oxygen, is part of this legacy. Without cyanobacteria, there will be no oxygen atmosphere, no complex life, no animals, no humans. These tiny cells, drifting in ancient seas, gave you the gift of breath. From this foundation, evolution unfolded. Plants are descendants of these early photosynthetic microbes. Around 1.5 billion years ago, a remarkable event occurred. A eukaryotic cell engulfed a cyanobacterium. Instead of digesting it, the cell formed a partnership. The cyanobacterium became a permanent resident, evolving into the chloroplast. This was endosymbiosis, one of the greatest mergers in biology. Every green leaf you see today, every chloroplast in every plant cell, is a great-grandchild of that ancient partnership. Think of it. When you look at a tree, you are seeing a community of cells, each containing tiny descendants of ancient bacteria, still catching light, still splitting water, still releasing oxygen. Evolution did not erase cyanobacteria. It multiplied them, embedding them within new forms, spreading them into every forest, every meadow, every ocean. Through time, plants rose. Around 470 million years ago, the first moss-like plants colonized land. Before this, Earth's continents were bare rock and soil, lifeless and harsh. But these early plants, small and simple, began to change that. They captured sunlight on land, spread across surfaces, and slowly built the first green landscapes. Then came vascular plants, with roots and stems, able to grow taller and reach higher for light. Forests appeared, vast and lush, during the Devonian period. Their photosynthesis pulled carbon dioxide from the air, releasing oxygen in great quantities. The atmosphere became richer, fueling giant insects, strange amphibians, and the first seeds. Life flourished in ways that would not have been possible without the oxygen built by forests. Pause and imagine standing in a carboniferous forest 300 million years ago. Towering trees called lycophytes and horsetails rise above you. Their leaves catch sunlight. Their roots draw water. Their chloroplasts spin the Calvin cycle. Oxygen levels are high, higher than today, filling the air, allowing dragonflies with wingspans of nearly a meter to glide. All of this, trees, insects, air itself, is shaped by photosynthesis. The remains of those forests still fuel you today. As plants died and were buried, their carbon was locked away, forming coal, oil, and natural gas. These fossil fuels are ancient sunlight, ancient photosynthesis stored in rock. When humans burn them, they release that sunlight again, but also return carbon dioxide to the air. In this way, the work of ancient plants still shapes your world. The story continues through flowering plants, evolving around 140 million years ago, spreading with flowers, fruits, and seeds. Their efficiency, their partnerships with pollinators, their diversity of leaves and forms, filled the planet with green. Grassland spread, forests thickened, ecosystems blossomed. Photosynthesis expanded in every direction, filling niches, sustaining diversity. And throughout, oxygen remained steady. It fluctuated at times, rising high in some eras, falling in others, but always it returned, sustained by the balance of photosynthesis. This balance made possible the rise of mammals, of primates, of humans. You are here because the cycle held, because photosynthesis endured through extinctions, through climate shifts, through ages of ice and fire. Pause and let the immensity of time wash over you. From cyanobacteria to chloroplasts, from moss to forest, from ancient coal to modern breath, photosynthesis has written the history of the earth. Every stone, every fossil, every cloud carries traces of the story. You are part of a chain billions of years long, a thread woven by sunlight into matter, by green into life. And yet, this story is not only past, it continues now. The same chlorophyll that caught photons billions of years ago still catches them today. The same oxygen released in the great oxidation event still fills your lungs. Ancient sunlight flows into modern leaves. Ancient cycles spin in modern forests. Past and present are joined in every breath you take. Rest in this thought. You are not separate from history. You are living it. You carry ancient sunlight in your body, ancient oxygen in your blood, ancient cycles in your cells. The deep time of photosynthesis is not behind you. It is within you. You breathe slowly, deeply, feeling the rhythm of your chest rise and fall. Air flows in, air flows out, and with each breath, you participate in the ancient exchange of gases. Oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. This exchange is so natural, so constant, you may rarely stop to think of it. And yet, this quiet rhythm is at the center of the planet's most delicate balance. Tonight, you drift into that balance, into the fragile thread that ties photosynthesis to climate, to carbon, and to the fate of the green world. The Earth's atmosphere is a thin veil, a skin of air wrapped around a vast planet of rock and water. Within this veil, gases move in cycles: oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor, and carbon dioxide. Each plays its role. Carbon dioxide, though small in amount, is essential. Plants draw it in, fixing it into sugars during the Calvin cycle. Animals release it as they breathe, as they burn food for energy. It is exchanged in a constant rhythm, like the heartbeat of the planet. But carbon dioxide is not only part biology, it is also part climate. It is a greenhouse gas, meaning it traps heat, keeping Earth warm enough for life. Without it, the planet would be frozen, uninhabitable. With too much, the planet overheats, destabilized. The balance is narrow, delicate, like a thread stretched between extremes. For billions of years, photosynthesis has helped hold this balance, drawing in carbon, releasing oxygen, regulating the air. Pause here and imagine a forest at dawn. Leaves open their stomata. Carbon dioxide drifts inward. Sugar forms. Oxygen flows outward. The forest breathes with you, taking what you exhale, returning what you need. Now imagine an ocean current, rich with phytoplankton. Each cell catches light, draws carbon, builds sugar, and some of that carbon sinks, stored in deep waters or sediments. This is the great carbon cycle, life's way of keeping balance. Yet balance is fragile. For centuries, humans have drawn upon ancient stores of carbon: coal, oil, gas. These fuels are the remains of ancient photosynthesis, sunlight locked away millions of years ago. By burning them, you release that sunlight again, but you also release carbon dioxide, once buried, now returned to the sky. In just a few generations, billions of tons of carbon have been released, faster than forests and oceans can absorb. The balance tilts, the air thickens, the climate warms. Reflect on the scale. For millions of years, carbon dioxide levels fluctuated slowly, guided by volcanic eruptions, by weathering of rocks, by the rise and fall of forests. But now, in little more than 2 centuries, the concentration has surged to levels unseen in human history. Oceans absorb some of it, growing more acidic. Forests absorb some, but as they are cut and burned, their capacity shrinks. The balance wavers, delicate, uncertain. Think again of photosynthesis. It is a great stabilizer, the mechanism that draws carbon from air into matter, storing it in wood, in soil, in ocean depths. Every tree is a reservoir of carbon, every forest a safeguard, every plankton bloom a quiet regulator of climate. But when forests are cleared, when oceans warm, the safeguard weakens. Photosynthesis continues, but it cannot keep pace with the surge of carbon pouring into the air. Pause and breathe. The air in your lungs tonight contains more carbon dioxide than it did a century ago. You cannot feel the difference, but the planet does. The warmth of the atmosphere, the melting of ice, the shifting of rainfall, the rising of seas, all are signals of imbalance. And at the heart of restoring balance lies photosynthesis, the green world's gift and responsibility. Consider the forest again, not just as a collection of trees, but as a living machine. Each trunk holds years of carbon, drawn slowly from the air. Each fallen leaf adds to the soil, storing carbon underground. Each root reaches into earth, feeding fungi and microbes that bury carbon deeper still. When forests are protected, they act as carbon sinks, drawing down what you release. When they're destroyed, they act as carbon sources, sending stored carbon back into the air. The difference between these two outcomes is the difference between balance and imbalance. Now, travel with your imagination to the Amazon rainforest. Vast green, stretching over millions of square kilometers. It is one of the planet's greatest lungs, drawing in carbon, releasing oxygen. But it is also vulnerable. Deforestation, fire, and climate stress reduce its ability to absorb carbon. In some places, it now releases more than it stores. The balance teeters. shift again to the oceans. Phytoplankton draw in carbon, some of which sinks, stored in deep waters for centuries. This biological pump regulates climate, unseen but vital. Yet warming waters change currents, altering plankton blooms, disrupting cycles. Acidifying seas weaken shells and corals, reducing the resilience of marine ecosystems. Again, the balance falters. Pause and reflect. Photosynthesis is powerful, but it is not infinite. It cannot absorb endlessly, cannot heal without time. The balance of carbon is fragile, and it depends on the choices of those who live now. But balance is not only about carbon. It is about temperature, rainfall, biodiversity, resilience. Photosynthesis shapes all of these. Forests cool the air by transpiring water, creating clouds, sending rain far beyond their borders. Oceans regulate heat, absorbing warmth and releasing it slowly. When these systems are strong, climate is stable. When they are weakened, climate wavers. As you breathe tonight, let this awareness settle gently. Your breath connects you not only to the leaf, but to the whole planet. Each inhale is shaped by forests and seas. Each exhale joins a cycle of carbon, drifting into the great balance. You are not separate from climate. You are part of it. And yet, within fragility, there is also resilience. Life has endured extinctions, ice ages, and upheavals. Photosynthesis has continued through it all, steady, persistent, adaptive. Even now, plants grow, forests spread where allowed, plankton bloom, algae shimmer in the seas. The balance may waver, but the process endures. Pause again. Inhale, exhale. Feel yourself as part of this fragile balance, dependent on it, contributing to it. There is no distance between your breath and the breath of the planet. The balance of carbon and oxygen is not abstract. It is inside you every moment, every heartbeat. And as you drift deeper into calm, consider the link between this planetary story and your own. For the sugar that photosynthesis builds, the oxygen it releases, do not remain in the air or the forest. They travel into you, into your meals, into your body. The next part of this journey brings the story closer still. To the food you eat, the energy you hold, the way photosynthesis lives within you every day. You rest deeper now, breathing calmly, your body loose and heavy. Until now, you have followed light into leaves, water into stems, oxygen into air, carbon into sugar. You have traced the balance of the planet, fragile and vast. But tonight, the story becomes closer, more intimate. For photosynthesis is not only in forests or oceans, not only in history or climate. It is in you. It lives in every meal you eat, every movement you make, every heartbeat and thought. Photosynthesis is not outside of you. It is inside you, sustaining you with every moment of life. Pause and think of the last meal you ate. Perhaps it was bread, rice, or fruit. Perhaps it was vegetables, or meat, or milk. No matter what form it took, its energy began in a leaf, in a blade of grass, in a plankton cell, in sunlight caught and sugar built. Even meat traces back to plants, for animals eat plants, and so their bodies are built from photosynthesis too. Every bite, every flavor, every calorie is sunlight transformed, passed from green into matter, from matter into you. Take bread as an example. A seed of wheat grows, its leaves catching light, spinning the Calvin cycle, building starch in its grains. That starch is harvested, ground, baked into bread. When you eat, enzymes in your mouth and stomach break starch back into glucose, the simple sugar at heart. That glucose passes into your blood, carried to your cells. In your mitochondria, glucose meets oxygen, also born from photosynthesis, and together they release energy, forming ADP, fueling your muscles and your mind. The bread becomes you. Pause again and imagine this chain. Sunlight strikes a field of wheat. Chloroplasts spin. Sugars form. Starch fills grains. You eat. Starch becomes glucose. Glucose becomes ADP. ADP becomes movement, warmth, thought. You are sunlight, captured and released. Think of fruit. An apple ripens on a tree. Its sweetness drawn from glucose built in leaves, carried through phloem into the fruit. You bite into it, taste its sugar, swallow its juice. That sugar, too, becomes ADP in your cells, fueling your life. Or think of milk. A cow grazes on grass, breaking down cellulose into sugars, converting them into protein and fat, storing energy in milk. When you drink, you join that chain, grass to cow to you, all powered by sunlight caught in leaves. Even if you eat fish, you join the same story. Fish eat smaller fish, which eat plankton, which photosynthesize. Even if you eat honey, you join the same story. Bees gather nectar, sugar made by flowers, and concentrate it. Every path of nourishment leads back to photosynthesis. There is no meal that does not. Now, reflect on glucose itself, the simple 6-carbon sugar that lies at the heart of this process. Plants make it, you consume it, your cells burn it. It is universal fuel, chosen by life long ago for its efficiency and simplicity. In your cells, glucose enters glycolysis, splitting into smaller molecules. These enter the Krebs cycle, releasing electrons. Those electrons pass down a chain, just as they do in photosynthesis, forming ADP. In the end, carbon dioxide and water are released, the very molecules that plants need to begin again. Your respiration is the mirror of their photosynthesis. Breath in, breath out, food in, energy out. Cycle upon cycle, endlessly joined. Pause and breathe slowly. Feel your chest rise with oxygen. Feel your body heavy with energy from food. You are a living link in the cycle. Your body is built from carbon once drifting in the air. Your energy is powered by photons once traveling from the sun. You are photosynthesis, embodied. Consider your muscles. When you walk, glucose fuels contraction. When you run, glycogen, stored glucose, breaks down, releasing power. When you rest, fat, once made from sugar, sustains you. Every step you take is photosynthesis in motion. Sunlight turned into strength. Consider your thoughts. Your brain, though small in weight, consumes vast amounts of energy. Neurons fire, synapses spark, patterns shift, all fueled by glucose. Every idea, every memory, every dream you hold is powered by sunlight, captured long ago by a leaf. Even as you lie here listening, your thoughts are photosynthesis unfolding in your mind. And consider your breath again. Oxygen flows into your lungs, binds to hemoglobin, enters cells, fuels respiration. It meets glucose, releases energy, forms water and carbon dioxide. You exhale. That carbon dioxide may one day enter a leaf, begin the Calvin cycle again, form glucose again, return to another body. Your breath is not waste. It is part of the endless loop. Pause and reflect on the generosity of the system. Plants do not hoard sugar. They share it through fruits, seeds, grains, and leaves. Animals eat it, transform it, share it again. You, too, share through your breath, through your body returning one day to soil, through your presence in the cycle. Nothing is wasted. Everything is exchanged. Life is not ownership. It is participation. Think of the diversity of foods. Rice in Asia, maize in the Americas, wheat in Europe and the Middle East, cassava in Africa. All staples are products of photosynthesis. Fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds are all gifts of sugar made solid. Even the flavors you love, the sweetness of fruit, the bitterness of coffee, the aroma of spices, are secondary compounds made by plants, crafted from sugars, offered freely. Photosynthesis feeds not only your body, but your senses, your joy, your culture. And when you eat, you carry history. Agriculture, the growing of crops, is humanity's way of guiding photosynthesis, of channeling sunlight into food. For 10,000 years, humans have planted seeds, tended fields, harvested grains. Civilizations rose on this partnership. Cities, writing, trade, and art all are possible because plants capture light and turn it into sustenance. Photosynthesis is not only biology, it is civilization. Pause and let that truth settle. You are not separate from plants. They are inside you, part of you, shaping your history, shaping your body. You are built of their sugars, fueled by their oxygen, sustained by their generosity. And as you reflect, let gratitude rise. Each bite, each breath is a gift. Each heartbeat is powered by sunlight. Each thought is carried by sugar. To live is to be joined to the green world, inseparably, eternally. But the story does not end here. For just as photosynthesis has sustained you in the past and present, it may also shape your future. Scientists are learning from it, trying to mimic its elegance, to build artificial photosynthesis, to harvest sunlight for clean energy, to create a future of balance and renewal. The next step of your journey is not only within you, but ahead of you, into the eternal light of possibility, into the gentle future of green energy. You rest now in the quiet, your breath soft, your body still. You have traveled far through the story of photosynthesis, from the first touch of sunlight on leaves, to the secret dance of chlorophyll, to the journey of water, the alchemy of light, the spin of the Calvin cycle, the gift of oxygen, the forest, the oceans, the deep history, and the fragile balance of the present. You have felt it move inside you, in food, in breath, in thought. And now, in this final chapter, you turn forward into what might come, into the eternal light, into the gentle future of green energy. Pause and let sunlight itself come to mind. It has always been here, pouring down upon the earth, steady, generous, abundant. Each second, more energy arrives from the sun than humanity uses in an entire year. Photosynthesis captures a fraction of this, just enough to sustain life. But the potential is far greater. For billions of years, plants have been the teachers of how to catch this light, how to store it, how to live from it. And now, humans are beginning to learn. Consider the solar panel. Its flat surface, dark and still, is designed to do what the leaf does: catch photons and turn them into energy. Inside, electrons leap when struck by light, just as they do in chlorophyll. Current flows, energy is stored. Though different in detail, the principle is the same. When you look at a solar panel, you are looking at humanity's attempt to mimic the leaf, to follow nature's blueprint of light into power. But solar panels are only the beginning. Scientists dream of artificial photosynthesis, systems that do not just make electricity, but also split water, store hydrogen, or even build fuels directly from carbon dioxide. Imagine a device that breathes like a leaf, drawing in air, catching sunlight, releasing oxygen, and producing sugar or fuel. Imagine fields of such devices, silent, clean, endless, sustaining cities without smoke, without waste. This is a vision of the future. Not burning the remains of ancient sunlight, but harvesting the light of today, directly, gently, endlessly. Pause and let this vision settle. Energy is a heartbeat of civilization, powering homes, carrying voices across wires, driving travel, lighting nights. For centuries, humanity has sought it in coal, in oil, in gas, burning what plants once stored. But this is a finite gift, and one that burdens the air with carbon. The challenge of your age is to find energy without imbalance, power without harm. And here, the leaf stands as a guide. Think of the elegance of the leaf. Thin, green, quiet. It catches sunlight without noise, without pollution, without exhaustion. It stores energy in sugar, releases oxygen, cools the air with transpiration, shares its food freely. It is an engine, a factory, and a gift all in one. The leaf shows what is possible, to live from the sun without destroying what surrounds you. Humanity's task is to listen, to learn, to follow its example. Already, you see glimpses of this. Solar farms spreading across deserts, rooftops shining with panels, wind turbines catching the energy of moving air. All are forms of harvesting natural flows, all inspired by the principle of photosynthesis. Even fuels from algae, hydrogen from sunlight, or carbon captured back into matter are echoes of the leaf cycle. The future, if it is gentle, will be green, not in color alone, but in principle and balance. Pause here and notice how this vision touches you personally. The food you eat is sunlight. The breath you take is sunlight. The energy you use to read, to listen, to live, could one day be sunlight too, caught cleanly, shared endlessly. You are surrounded by possibility, just as you are surrounded by air. Consider also the resilience of sunlight. It does not run out. For billions of years more, the sun will shine steady and vast. It outlasts coal, oil, gas. It outlasts empires, civilizations, lives. To live from the sun is to live from something eternal, something steady, something generous. This is the invitation of photosynthesis, to align with what is abundant, not what is scarce, to live in rhythm with what is endless, not what is temporary. Reflect on the generosity of this design. Photosynthesis has always given more than it takes. Leaves do not hoard energy. They release oxygen, share sugar, feed ecosystems. Imagine society built the same way, drawing from sunlight, giving back balance, sharing abundance. Energy would no longer be a source of conflict, but a common gift, available to all, steady as the dawn. Now, think forward in time. Imagine cities covered in panels that breathe like leaves, capturing light by day, glowing softly by night. Imagine deserts blooming with artificial photosynthesis, turning sunlight into clean fuels, water into oxygen, air into balance. Imagine homes and communities living directly from light, with no need to burn, no need to exhaust. The world will be transformed, yet still in harmony with what has always been. Pause and breathe. The thought is not fantasy. Already, seeds of it exist. Already, panels shine. Turbines turn, algae are studied, catalysts tested. The path is not simple, but it is possible. And at its heart is the same principle that sustains you now. Sunlight, caught by green, shared into life. And so, as you close this journey, you realize that photosynthesis is not just past or present. It is future. It is eternal. The light will not cease. The cycle will not end. You are part of it, carried by it, sustained by it. Your breath, your food, your energy, all are sunlight transformed. And one day, perhaps, your society too will live as leaves do, gently, generously, endlessly, from eternal light. Rest here with that thought. The story is not finished. The sun rises each day, pouring energy into the world. Leaves open, oceans shimmer, cycles spin. You breathe, you eat, you live. All are joined in one flow, one rhythm, one endless gift. And as you drift towards sleep, let this rhythm carry you. The eternal light above, the green world below, your breath in between. You are part of it, always, forever, in every moment. The story of photosynthesis is the story of life, and it continues with each dawn.